Mm. Good evening, everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, depending where you are in the world. This is Norman Kochnak here again for Eyes on Cricket with Norman Kochnak. I'm live, of course. We're going to talk about some of the team selections, the injuries, updates, England versus India all over again in only a matter of less than 2 days, effectively before the match will restart. It's actually it's within 2 days' time the game will be on again. We'll have a full preview with a full debrief, not debrief, but a preview itself of the actual match, the fifth Test match in Old Trafford and Manchester, which will be interesting because James Anderson will come from one end, and literally the other end will be Cristiano Ronaldo will be there for Manchester United. So it's quite an interesting comparison. You'll have the best of bowlers and the best of everything. In fact, best of soccer, best of football at the other end. So it's quite an interesting combination. I've just come off watching Hello Paranjay Sajiva. Dave Sharp just finished all my cold calls, I guess. He's eagerly waiting for the podcast. Thank you. Kevin Kumar's here as well. Dikshan Anand, I'm here. So the reality is that there's been a press conference with both Chris Silverwood as well as Joe Root. They both had press conferences. One's from the BCCI with, I'm imagining, Coley in that as well. The reality is that there's been a few changes the England side expected with the further update to their now 16-man squad. And it will also, so the likes of Josh Butler have come back on deck after his wife's giving birth. Also the likes of Mark Wood appears to be back from injury. And also an inclusion is Jack Leach, the so-called first line spinner of England. So it looks as though those three people are back on deck, and I would argue that probably, or in fact, Joe Root has confirmed that Josh Butler will definitely be back in the side as the keeper and, of course, as vice captain, which Moeen Ali will no longer be the vice captain, and that'll mean that both Moeen Ali and Ollie Pope will probably fight out one of the positions in the team, or maybe even more so. We might have both Moeen Ali and Ollie Pope not in the side, and we might see the return of Jack Leach in place of Moeen Ali, and the place of Ollie Pope will be taken by Josh Butler. So that may well be the case too, with Bairstow coming out the batting order. There was concern around that, and although Joe Root did not confirm Moeen Ali, Ollie Pope, or Jack Leach's positions in the team, he did confirm Josh Butler. He will definitely be there as keeper. So it's a quick return. I didn't expect it to be that quick, but it certainly seems like it is that quick. And it's most interesting, in fact, how that develops. We hope to have Mervyn Richards here. I mean, that's be a great acquisition of Merv Richards. In fact, as we speak, there's a live video of the England under-19 versus the West Indies under-19. I think it's their third match. Of course, David Graven, who's normally a part of our show, usually takes part or is heavily involved in the England under-19 squad. And although I don't think Merv Richards has something directly to do with an under-19 West Indies, I think he's actually there in spirit, and he would certainly have a lot to do with a pre their departure, I'm pretty sure as well. And so the point is that I'm just starting now with the discussion, and we have a number of aspects of that to talk about, both England and Indian side. In fact, we can also talk about the T20 World Cup and some of the inclusions or exclusions out of that as well, because there are quite a few aspects of that are relevant, I must admit as well. So the fact is that we have a situation where the T20 teams, the 15. In fact, it could be as many as 3 reserves on top of the 15, which would be a very good decision based on the fact that we're going to have a situation where there'll be a long tour with COVID and with the so-called lockdown and the bio bubble that they will be in. Naturally enough, the situation is quite difficult there because they have to be able to travel to that situation. The situation, and I'm it's a very difficult situation. They can't quickly bring a player if injured or something goes wrong. So they have to have 3 reserve players there at any one time. So that'll be the 18 players as opposed to the 15. But there is some discussion. In fact, I can see an interview at the moment with the batting coach, who's effectively he's taken on the role of being coach as well. Vikram Rathore, he's actually basically got 2 roles, batting and overall coach, because of the lack of presence of both the coach, as in Ravi Shastri, and the 3 assistant coaches, Arun and I think some other support staff, aren't able to be there. All 3 of them, including Shastri, is actually 4 that are not there. They're basically in quarantine, having one of them, Ravi Shastri, being quoted as being COVID-19 positive. So, of course, he's talking, when you are playing for such a long time, you will have phases where you won't get runs. And I think that the reference to that would have to be the likes of Rahane, and to a lesser extent Pujara, and even Punt, although Punt got 50 in the last match. The Indian players will have their moments, but that basically indicates that Rathore will not be changing in both the batting and the overall coaching role. Will not see a change to the Indian batting lineup if all are fit. That would mean that Rahul would partner with Sharma if fit. His knee was a problem, but if he's fit, and the first drop will still continue to be Pujara with his ankle injury if fit. Kohli will be obviously second drop, and then we have a combination of Rahane, Jadeja, and Punt. The question is whether Ashwin is included or not. Shardul Thakur will certainly be there. There's no doubt about that. Bumrah, if fit and if willing, there is a question mark over Bumrah, not because he's not capable. He's just bowled fantastically, but his fitness levels will be of some concern. But obviously, Mohammad Shami is there, certainly in the background, to be able to come to the side. And Siraj is another who's there, but was considered. Ishant Sharma would probably be the least likely that included. Umesh Yadav has played himself back into the team at this stage. The only real question is about Shami's inclusion, and on top of that, Ashwin's inclusion. Now we've seen Jack Leach being considered for the England side as the first line spinner, so that would indicate that if England are considering through Joe Root and Chris Silverwood to actually include the likes of Jack Leach back on the side as the so-called frontline spinner, that may give a hint to the Indian selectors that there may be a pitch that may require coverage for a spinner as it may turn, which I'm not expecting it to be the case. But if that is the case, you may see Ashwin come into the side in place of one of the bowlers. Now, Shardul Thakur would have to consider himself very unlucky if he's considered to be one that's not on the side. Mohammad Shami was out because of injury, and of course, that was the main selection headache they had. Ishant Sharma was deemed to be because of injury, but I would argue it was more form than injury. But those 2 were not on the side. So I would be surprised, unless they're considering bringing Ishant Sharma and Shami back both into the side and resting Bumrah and perhaps even resting Siraj for that matter, and Umesh Yadav stays, because really they won't lose a lot if they bring in Shami, certainly. Ishant Sharma, depending on how he copes, he could also be a great acquisition. But they would miss Bumrah. Bumrah was pivotal in the last things there at the Oval. Certainly his 6 over spell, whatever it was extremely significant to the overall situation with the way in which India got England all out for 210. Don't forget, India got England all out for 210. They were none for 77 overnight, with both Rory Burns and Hamid in bat looking quite sound. They went into the morning and they ended up being none for 100, but then Shardul Thakur in his first over took that important wicket of Rory Burns, and then the wickets came quite steadily after that, with very little resistance other than Joe Root, who again was taken by Thakur. Bumrah's spell when he got rid of Pope and Bairstow was quite incredible. Umesh Yadav was also fantastic. Even Jadeja bowled very well as well. Siraj didn't get any wickets, but overall the unit was particularly strong, and England only scored 110 after being none for 100. Very similar to the 120 they got in Lords, which was an awful effort. Is it an awful effort, or is it more the bowling? Well, you'd have to argue that the bowling of India was fantastic. If you listen to the interviews, the press conference, which both of them actually are on my YouTube channel. You can see both the Chris Silverwood interview and the Joe Root interview, which Joe Root interview has just been uploaded. They both tell a tale of applause or very a lot of superlatives about the way that India played. And both Joe Root and Chris Silverwood were quite clear in saying they have learnt, or they are learning a lot from the way India applied themselves in the match and put constant pressure on the England batters. And look, Bumrah's spell was phenomenal, but it wasn't just Bumrah. It was Shardul Thakur was excellent. Mashada put pressure. Jadeja, not well, didn't bowl that well the previous night, but the next day he bowled admirably, took 2 wickets. I put a lot of pressure on the batsman. And you could even see that when Milan was run out with Hamid there, and it was, even Hamid was dropped, there was a lot of pressure put onto the batters, and it applied. And Joe Root was talking in terms of losing 30 minutes here, losing 30 minutes there, where the pressure was applied, and that's where they lost the match. And it takes a stronger mindset, or a more aggressive mindset, and a more win at all costs mindset that perhaps Kohli has instilled in the Indian team. Look at the way that Umesh Yadav played, the way that Shardul Thakur played, Bumrah, even both Punt and Thakur in the batting. Rohit Sharma was absolutely superb. He got the man of the match. I would have argued Shardul Thakur all round probably deserved the man of the match, but I'm not taking anything away from Rohit Sharma's performance. Rohit Sharma was magnificent, and I have a lot of time for him, indeed. And really, it's quite amazing to see both Sharma and Rahul batting so well up the order. They both are in fantastic form. The only cloud that hangs over the Indian side at the moment, there were two things mainly. The injuries to Pujara and Sharma. Sharma sounds like he's less likely to not play. Pujara's injury, I believe, is a bit more severe, but Pujara probably would go on the field on crutches if he had to, especially under the circumstances. This is a test match that India can't afford to really rest players because, quite frankly, they're leading 2-1 in the Batali Trophy series, but they haven't won it yet. And 2-2 would be by no means a failure, but it would be not what they want. They are clearly in front at 2-1. England cannot win the series. They can only draw the series, but India can certainly win the series and are looking like they will. To me, that's going to motivate India quite substantially. And they can't take away winning players. Now, Shardul Thakur is a winning type player. Even Siraj, I would argue, is a winning type player. Bumrah certainly is. Umesh Yadav was fantastic. Ishant Sharma waned a bit in the previous match, hence why he wasn't there, although it was apparently an injury. And then you're looking at, Sharmi's attitude was great as well. So I think they'll keep the side almost identical. The only questions will be over Sharmi coming in. Their injuries, which I mentioned to Pujara and Sharma, I don't think they're going to not play. I think they're going to play, but it's very tight time frames. We'll talk less than 48 hours before the match starts. So the decision-making time is very limited. I'll have to wait and see it be put on ice somewhat. I think Rohit Sharma's conditioning coach or the medical staff was saying it's hour by hour for him. So that's a little bit critical. The reality is that India are in a very, very good situation. You would have to argue their team is very sound. The batting order, even though Rahani's been copping quite a bit of slack, is the top four extremely sound. Look at the way they played this match. All four of the top order scored runs. All four. So, we mustn't forget that. And I don't want you to forget that. I'm going to repeat that quite a bit because I do think it's often let slide. The Indian public tends to... Anyway, while I'm talking, England under-19 team, after 33.3 overs, they are 6 for 143. Not a spectacular scoreline, but New Zealand have just got, in the fourth T20, after 19.3 overs, were all out for 93. That means so far that series has gone 2-1 in the favour of New Zealand. But New Zealand 93, that's not much, but the previous match, Bangladesh only got 76, but these rounds must be awful. Seriously awful. And Zimbabwe versus Ireland in an ODI. Zimbabwe are 3 for 110. So this is actually played in Belfast, which is interesting. I'm just going to quickly pull up the series that we're talking about right now. So, okay, there's discussion here. It was quite an adamant fact that Joss Butler and Moeen Ali are set to play at Old Trafford. So, and Joe Root, as I mentioned earlier, has only indicated that Jack Leach will only play if conditions suggest 2 spinners are required. So with Butler and Moeen Ali set to play at Old Trafford, that does mean that Ollie Pope will probably miss out, and that depending on the conditions, there may be another bowler that let go and Jack Leach would come in. But I think Mark Wood is definitely playing, probably for Overton. So that's the changes that are made at this point. And by that inclusion, I would argue that they're not going to drop, not so much drop, but Anderson might be rested. So Butler and Moeen Ali are both playing. Butler will be the vice captain. Joe Root, as I said, has indicated Jack Leach will only play if conditions suggest 2 spinners are necessary or required. And if that's the case, then you would see both Jadeja and Ashwin play, and that could be the other alternative. But at this point, we cannot say any more than that. At this point, if the pitch shows that inclination, then both teams will have 2 spinners. Moeen Ali and Jack Leach for England, and Jadeja and Ashwin for India. Intriguing, because really they were probably warranted for having been selected in the previous test or two, especially Ashwin, but they weren't. India won. They cannot talk about that anymore. But bizarrely, they might have him in this next test. But I think Shami will also come in. And it'll be interesting to see what makeup they have. It's a matter of who they will rest, if there's anyone needing a rest. And we don't forget that Bumrah had a bit of a niggle the previous match with his calf. It may have been cramp only, but it may have been more. We don't know. Siraj, albeit bowled quite okay. Maybe he was carrying injury. We just don't know. We'll find out. And with Shardov will certainly be pushing. Shardov Thakur, my God, he'll want to play. I would argue that, they really... I was going to ask, Human's asked me about Human. I hope you're here because you just asked me whether I'm live or I'm live yet. I'll just reply to him. And there's a lot of discussions about, a lot of players around, but I think both sides will want to have limited changes. Butler was only out of the team based on the fact that his wife gave birth, so he really was a part of the side. Ollie Pope, despite scoring admirably with 80-odd runs, was an inclusion because of Josh Butler. If Josh Butler's back, Ollie Pope should go. And that's the way it is. So, the England batting lineup will probably stick to Hamid and Burns because they've done pretty well. Malan should stay, Root should stay, then Bairstow. Then you'll have the likes of Butler coming in as well. So, that's generally the batting lineup. Let's go through it again. Burns and Hamid, Malan, Root, Bairstow and Butler, which is that 6. They'll move into 7 with someone like Chris Wokes as 7. And then you'll have 8 Wood and 9 Anderson, not necessarily that order. And then 10 is going to be Robinson. And the 11, and I'm forgetting a player there, aren't I? There's someone I've forgotten out of this lot, but it'll come back to me. It may well be Jack Leach coming in as opposed to that. But the bowling lineup for England was particularly strong. Overton is the other person that would be out, and Wood would come in for him in that place. So it's going to be interesting to see how that selection process goes. You would argue that the England side didn't necessarily play that badly. They played particularly well up to the first half of the match. That India took hold by playing better than England, by scoring 466 and then bowling exceptionally well on the last day after having the team run for 100, all out for 210. You could argue that Moeen Ali's the other person I forgot to include. Moeen Ali would be in that batting line. So let's go through that again, make this clear. Hamid would join Burns 2. Then you have 3 would be Malan, 4 would be Root, 5 would be Bairstow, 6 would be Moeen Ali, and then 7 would be Butler or around the other way. Then you have Wokes at 8, Robinson at 9, perhaps Wood at 10, and Anderson at 11, or Jack Leach would somehow squeeze his way into the side. That would probably be the England lineup for this match. But the Indian lineup, and we'll go through that. We're going to go through their side now in some detail. We'll talk about it more tomorrow as well. But we'll go through both the Test side and we'll probably go through the T20 World Cup side, if you like. The Test side, again, as I said earlier in the broadcast here, the likelihood that would be that if Rohit Sharma, if fit, will continue, and he'll open the batting with KL Rahul. If Rohit Sharma happens to not be fit, then Agarwal would probably replace him as the opener. At number 3, Pujara, if fit, will be number 3 without a doubt. If not able to play, Vihari might be the person to replace him in that position. Kohli at 4, Rahane at 5, Punt, Jadeja at 6 and 7. Then we have the last 4, the bowling contingent. If Bumrah's fit, he'll play. Then you'll have the likes of, you would think Siraj would be fit, he'd play, and Umesh Yadav would play. That leaves one position to be tossed up. I'm going to include Shardul Thakur there. I think that's really the 11 I would put in. But if that is the case, Ashwin would be considered only to be in there in the place of perhaps in the place of a Siraj, perhaps, or in fact, they may even consider Shami coming back, but we just don't know that. They've got a great deal of options. So does England. They've got Shami and Ashwin wanting to press for claims to get back into the side. Shami because of injury. Ishant Sharma's not coming back in. Very interesting to see who they leave out. And again, 2 spinners, England, 2 spinners, India. That means Ashwin would be returning to the side. Hopefully not in place of Shardul Thakur. I hope that would be a mistake. It could well be one of the other bowlers, either Siraj or perhaps Umesh Yadav. And again, if Bumrah decides to be rested. So that's basically the makeup of the 2 sides. Not a hell of a lot of change. The only inclusion would be a second spinner, although I don't know why that would be the case. I don't think Old Trafford's notorious for that, but we'll wait and see. The World Cup, well, in particular, let's have a look at this. Let's look at the squad that's come up for. I've actually had a look at this earlier today, and it was very intriguing. There's a lot of selection headaches, and they are selection headaches. Let's go back. I'll go back a bit, and this is some discussion around the Indians T20 World Cup selection questions. 5 spots up for intense debate. There are 5 spots. Okay. In other words, if it's a 15-man squad, there are 5 spots up for grabs, but there will be 3 reserves, so it might balance out. At this point in time, the pundits or those in position of understanding or knowledge are saying the following: Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma are both included with Rahul. Almost they're likely to be the top 3 batters in the order anyway. Surya Kumar Yadav, Rishabh Pant, Hardik Pandya, Ravindra Jadeja, Jasprit Bumrah, Bhuvaneshwar Kumar, that is, and Yuzvendra Chahal. They're the 10 that they're saying are certainties. Kohli, Sharma, Rahul, Sky, Pant, Pandya, as in Hardik, Jadeja, Bumrah, Kumar, as in Bhuvi, and Chahal, Yuzvendra. So they're your 10 that they're believed to be certainty. So it's fair to assume these 10 players will be named, and they're jotted down by the Indian selectors already. So that's a done and dusted. So they're likely to pick a 15-man squad, along with a group of reserves that will be readily available in relation to the case of injury if anyone tests positive for COVID-19 or something of that effect. So who will be the 5 remaining players vying for various slots? So let's have a look at some of the people that we're suggesting here. We'll have a look at it. So with that 10, you might consider another choice of a backup batsman or 2. So despite having 7 batters, and including 2 all-rounders in Hardik and Jadeja, India will actually need to have a so-called backup specialist batsman. So the choices that are there, and I'll go through all them, I want your opinion. Shikhar Dhawan, Shreyas Iyer, Ishan Kishan, Prithvi Shaw, and Samson. They're your 5 that have been considered. And they're typically 3 reserves. So who would you have? Dhawan, Iyer, Kishan, Shaw, Samson. I don't think Shaw, because they've got so many openers. Shikhar Dhawan would be a really good chance. Ishan Kishan, to me, because of his keeping capability, may be a better choice. And you've got Samson and Iyer also fighting. What a squad. You'd almost argue that you could pick, say, I'll pick a person, Ishan Kishan, as that batsman, as the next batter. And then you could bring on tour Dhawan, Iyer, and Samson, with Shaw being the one to miss out. That's my likely discussion with that. That's the batters. Now, in terms of two fast bowlers, 2 seamers to add on, well, Hardik will be the 3rd seamer behind Bumrah and Bhuvi, but they're likely to include at least 2 more quicks. So, but Hardik Pandya, is he really the one that? It's a big decision. What you have to immediately think of Shardul Thakur, wouldn't you? But Deepak Chahar Natarajan, Shami, Siraj, and Thakur. Who would you pick two of those players to go through? Would it be Deepak Chahar? He would be one of the favourites. Natarajan hasn't been playing much lately. He's had his injuries. Would be doubtful. Shami, I would think, would deserve a chance. Siraj, is he a T20 bowler? I don't know. Thakur, I would say he'd be the one. My two would be Deepak Chahar and Thakur out of those five. That would be my two. You also have a situation with two backup spinners are considered. Shouldn't you have an extra wrist spinner in Rahul Chahar, for example? Let's go through there. We've got bowlers such as Aksar Patel, Krunal Pandya, Washington Sundar if fitness and doubt to his fitness, Ashwin, of course, and then Rahul Chahar or Chakravarti. There's, in fact, 6 players that we've just mentioned there, with 2 going in. Krunal Pandya, his form hasn't been great, to be honest with you. I don't think he's one that I would consider. Washington Sundar looks like he's injured, so that may rule him out immediately. Chakravarti, I don't think. It probably will be between Rahul Chahar, Ashwin, and Aksar Patel. 2 out of those 3 could be the ones to go through. Interesting. What's your thoughts, guys? Let me know your thoughts. Yeah, big hot rod Sonny London. How are you? Nice to see you there. Bangladesh and New Zealand. Yeah, that looks like New Zealand a bit of trouble there. They could lose that 3-1. Bangladesh has beat Australia 4-1, and New Zealand looks like 3-1. West Indies beat Australia 4-1. Look, the form is horrible for both Australia and New Zealand in the T20 format. Well, those 2 teams have to really scratch their head whether they've got a chance. I'm still maintaining with both England, India, and West Indies being 3 of the 4 semi-finalists, and the next one positions a shootout between Pakistan and New Zealand, I thought. But Bangladesh could sneak into those 4. We just don't know. If their form's any indication to go by in Bangladesh, well, you have to include them. But is that purely the form that we're seeing in Bangladesh? Will they be able to replicate that in UAE? I think they could certainly do that. So Samal Sastry is saying India have already scored 26 points in the series of the World Test Championship. Well, that's pretty impressive. Total team performance, absolutely. Not wasted saying I'm glad that WTC point system has changed, but it means New Zealand are shortchanged for not playing enough Test cricket. Well, they're going to have to do something about that. Maybe they have to financially start rewarding their players, or I don't know what. I think England will make a comeback in the 5th Test. Gareth Banker, you're said quite a bit about that. I don't think England are going to sit down and take it easy. They're going to be going. They got a lot more to fight for now, you would argue. You would think that the way that this series has ebbed and flowed. The first test was clearly India, but they didn't go across the line because of the weather. Second test, India won and won quite well. But then the third test, England came back raring to go and actually was quite assertive in the way they played India and got all that for 78 and scored, led by 340 on 6, I think it was. And then, even though India batted admirably in the third innings, could not muster enough and were beaten by an innings. Quite a turnaround. Fourth test was a lot closer. And in fact, England yet again were ahead at 99 runs at the halfway stage. But India's second innings performance was fantastic. 466, Rohit Sharma, magnificent. Shardul Thakur, Bajara, Kohli, even Punch were all good. And then the fantastic bowling performance by Bumrah and Umesh, and of course Thakur again, that led to the victory. So you can say first 2 India, third England, fourth India. Could be 5th England. It could be 5th England. You would hope not. You would certainly hope not. You would certainly hope not for England, India's sake. But I don't think it's going to be that simple a comeback. Why? Because I think James Anderson and even Robinson will be slightly, you could argue, a bit cooked. They'll be pretty tired. I don't think Bumrah and the like had to bowl that much. They had to be in there for 210 runs, so there weren't that many overs involved. Whereas the England bowlers bowl 30 odd overs each, which would only knock anyone around, it wouldn't it? It would certainly not be an easy set of circumstances to deal with, I can tell you. Very interesting. I think even experienced players in the England team don't have enough confidence right now to try and put pressure back on the opposition. Well, that was a big turning point, was their mindset, confidence, aggression, that determination or fearlessness. All of these things are possessed by Indian players for sure. And with Virat Kohli, who has now, 65 tests as Test captain. This will be his 66th time as Test captain. What a magnificent performance. Has won 38 matches at 58%. Now, I know this percentage is too well now because I've looked them up enough times. Pretty damn impressive, to be honest. Pretty damn impressive indeed. So that's a lot to be thankful for in terms of the way that India plays because of Virat Kohli. And Ravi Shastri, even though Ravi Shastri is in a form of quarantine, he's only a Zoom call or phone call away, and I think the messages have been already made pretty clear after 4 tests exactly what needs to be done, and I think the message will be ringing very clear. Back yourself, have confidence, know that you have no fear, that you have every opportunity to put the pressure on team and win the match. And I'll tell you what, that's already evidenced by the way they're playing. It's been absolutely fantastic. So yeah, it's been a fantastic performance all round. Any questions, guys? So I don't see England retaining their title because of it. I think so. I reckon they'll feel hard pressed to make it. One was reserve swing, which Anderson couldn't. That's true. Interesting. Kohli, as I said, to be not included in the T20 World Cup squad in Tuckle. I think Kohli is definitely not going to be in there. I'm pretty sure he will be. And Tuckle may well have forced his way back in. You're right. Himanshu Chaudhary, how are you? Rahane out? No, I don't think so. By the way that Ratur, the batting coach, is now assumed coaching position, he's pretty adamant that everyone has an off day and he's backing his batters quite heavily. Siraj out, Ashwin, Ricky check things that could well be a change. I'm not going to do that. Rahane out for Harry, and I don't think so. If Harry's going to be in or Agarwal's going to be in, it's going to be an expensive Rohit Sharma injured with a knee or Pujara injured with an ankle. That would be the only change. Rahane out, Sky in. People keep talking about Sky, but he has to be in some sort of pecking order behind Agarwal and Vihara in this Test series. Both those players will probably go ahead of him. As he wasn't originally selected, he was brought into the squad with Prithvi Shaw, and I'm wondering why that was again. That was due to Shubman Gill's injury in particular. Okay. Do you think there will be an opportunity for Sky to play? No, I don't think so. He'll stick to the shorter format. T20 World Cup squad, if India coming at 9 p.m. today. That could well be interesting. Well, if that is the case, I'll be ready for it. Who is that woman in the background pic? Who's there? Well, it's my mother probably. It's a long time that India posted over 400 in an overseas test. Yeah, that's correct. It was very, very impressive indeed. And you have to take your hat off to India's performance. It was only superlative to the way you describe it. It was a brilliant performance. And I don't think Indian supporters have really understood the significance of, well, definitely Rahul and Sharma, but Pujara, 153 run partnership with Sharma. Brilliant. Kohli's performance was admirable as well. Rahane didn't last long, true. Jadeja did pretty well, but then Charlotte Tucker on punt seized that middle session of the day and arrested that, and then only supported what Umesh Yadav and the likes of, who else was there? And Umesh Yadav and, well, not Siraj, it was actually, who was the other player that, I'm forgetting now who it was. Umesh Yadav, well, it wasn't Shami, and Siraj didn't bat. Who was it? It was another player with Umesh Yadav. Who was it? Bumrah, of course. Bumrah, who's actually proving to be almost an all-rounder these days. But Umesh Yadav looked fantastic. Project top 4 did not score, even one score that contributed over the expectation of their form. Well, no, I don't know. Sure, will be 2-2 for conditions that are overcast in Manchester. No, I don't think it's that clear, but we'll see. India will win the first because of their bowling. I think that's it's only proven in previous tests. Yeah, exactly. New Zealand will play a 3-test series in England next year. Yeah, I saw that. It's also on my community page. I've looked at that. And also India are also playing. They're not playing test matches. Yeah, be interesting to see what happens. Joe Root has indicated that Jack Leach will only play because the test spinners are required. Correct. Old Trafford is often dry. Well, that's what they don't really say at the moment. They're actually saying the opposite. They're saying that they expect rain and some heavy rain because of storm, cyclonic storms or typhoon type conditions, which are based over the Americas that are coming their way. So that's what we're hearing. Absolutely. Okay. Surely you would have Pope over Bairstow. Why? I don't. Both of them got out cheaply in the second inning, so you can't distinguish between the two of them. But Bairstow's had a pretty good series overall, and Bairstow's there as a backup keeper. I don't think Pope's. Why would Pope came in to replace Butler. So if Butler returns, Pope should then be again not selected. That's unfortunate, but that's the way it goes. India will defeat England for sure. Let's hope they will, because they deserve to. Only Rowan Roll can play the new ball and overcast at the moment. That's not true. Pujara and Kohli and even Shuttle Tagore, I reckon they're all good handle. Weather forecast is plenty of rain. We've heard that. So Siddharth Kumar, Moeen Ali, it looks like Joe Root has actually confirmed his selection, even though he's not going to be vice captain, because Butler returns to that position. Hot Rod Sonu, London thinks Pope will be playing. Well, he did get 80 on the first innings, but then went out to a very, very poor shot in the second innings. So he may have balanced that whole effort from the first innings by a very poor second innings when it probably really counted. I'm afraid to say it probably counted more than not in that second innings. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, but I think Pope is unlikely to play. I think it will be Bairstow, yes. Yes, no, probably we're heading for a draw. Well, that suits India fine, because they'll win 2-1, won't they? And you're not complaining for anything exactly. Bairstow will be dropped, Pope will say, okay, go, mate, you can tell that opinion. Bairstow's played for ages now and good enough to play at special bets and tests. I don't necessarily agree with that. Rowan happens to be fit. Pujara seems dicey. So Rowan did give the impression of being fit, or not when you say fit, in reasonable condition. Pujara's injury is a little bit more serious, I think. And Norman, have a good day. Okay. Siraj should be replaced by Shami. It could well be a case. Who was your favourite cricketer growing up? I loved the Chappell brothers when they batted. Lily Thompson era, Doug Walters. How you going? Thank you, Commander. You came back. I saw your message over there. Kohli scored 140 in swinging edge batsman's conditions. So, yeah, look, I think Kohli's not to be sneezed at. Kohli's captain indefinitely, as long as he wants to be. 65 tests as captain. Next best is Dhoni on 60. 38 victories. Next best is Dhoni on 27. Percentage is 58 compared to Dhoni's 45. Even Ganguly, the rest of them, they're all done very well, but they're not nearly as good as what Kohli's done, right? Okay. India is announcing squad at 9 p.m. IST, which is about, 1:30 in the morning where I am. Oh, that's going to be a bit of an annoyance. Norman, I bet you haven't been anything like this before at 12 p.m. Pakistan announced their squad at 2 p.m. The head coach and bowling coach resigned. Total chaos. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. I really don't, because two incredible men, Waqar Yunus and Misbah al-Haq. You couldn't get a better pairing of knowledgeable and encouraging and supportive players, and very balanced and very fair. Don't know why both those would be dropped. Oi, Norman, what do you think about the prospect of Jimmy calling it a day at Old Trafford? There's been absolutely no mention by Chris Selwood, Joe Root, or Jimmy Anderson himself about anything of the sort. So it'll be highly unlikely. If he's still fit, I think he played all 4 tests in the series, and he's going to play probably the 5th test. He's going to want to play all the 5 Ashes and probably play all the tests next summer, because he wants to knock off Shane Warne's record. So I don't think he wants to go anywhere. So you said no one but 2 players can do it, and that's not true. I agree. Rohit and Rahul, Indian opinion, would cut this player. But I think Rohit and Rahul will probably open it, unless Kohli decides. But with Kohli, that'll be the triumvirate, so to speak. Yeah, he is. But he's still getting 40s and 50s. So, God, if he gets past that, I'll get 100. Bowen's set to be sacked as captain, apparently. Well, I don't quite know what's going on in Pakistan. They were playing pretty well. And 2 seconds out from the World Cup, you get rid of the coach and the bowling coach, and potentially this is right, the captain. Well, that's a disaster. Ishan Kishan, I think he'll be in the T20 squad. Shardul, Rashmi Jaha, I think you'll find that he's probably played himself into contention after what he's been doing of late. He really is he's got a class act about him. He really seems to be, just on point with everything he's doing. And he's got the Midas touch is the way I would describe it at the moment. The Midas touch for sure. Okay, let's have a look here. Okay, all right. Siraj should be replaced by Shami and Bumrah by Ashwin. Sumant Shastri, that does make some sense about Shami coming in. Siraj can't be called not playing well. He played fantastic in the second test match with 8 wickets when they won. Didn't get as many wickets this time around, but I don't think he's that far from it. But Shami probably needs to be brought in. Yeah. When you are getting at some way again, it's a weakness, not just bad form. Yeah. Take questions. I've been taking questions all morning. Okay. Darwin's not a certainty at this point. We'll be live at 2:30 in the morning for the live stream of the team announcement. Will I be live? Well, if that is the case, I may come back on or do a video on the announcement. Maybe I'll do that. We'll see. I don't know whether I'm going to have an opportunity to do that, but we'll see. After this particular session, guys, I'll find out more about it. I'll get a hold of those in the know. We'll see what we can do. Virat, don't go towards Ishan. Maybe Shardul. No, Darwin. Okay, Darwin. No, Shardul placement. Okay. What about Shardul? Shardul is a good chance. Shaw getting picked. I don't know. I'm not sure. Hardik bowling. That's a problem. They're going to use him as an all-rounder. He's got to bowl. So I think Shardul Thakur may well usurp him. You know that. Could this be the last test for Anderson? I don't think so. Upon the way Pujara kept on batting even after the twist, I feel scared to see if we're going to find someone that's greedy and classical as Pujara. We are often quite quick to discard him. Now Pujara's will probably go back in a wheelchair. Best England top-notch name for World T20 Cup. Like Curran, his brother Tom Curran, he's off to the BBL. Joff Archer out. Jack Leach, well, he wouldn't play, I don't think, in the W's. Moeen Ali probably will. Adil Rashid, Joe Root's interesting on there. It's up and down about him with Owen Morgan coming back into the squad as captain. Yeah. I think Mohammad Siraj should be in the T20 squad. He is a pure wicket taker, at least as a backup. I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. Only twist please live stream. What are you talking about? I can't explain it. Norman, I've been waiting for you. Haven't answered my question. What was your question, Puranjay? Repeat it, please. There will be a live press conference at 9 p.m. instead of a press release. Okay. Chance of Ashton on T20 World Cup. He is a clever bowler. Yeah, you think so? Melbourne Storm, whom is the best team. Brandon Smith is the best player. Hey, PMB 9. Well, Melbourne will be playing Manly, and then it'll be an interesting semi-final with South Sydney, my team, playing the Penrith Panthers next week. This week, in fact, with the Roosters, Eastern Suburbs playing, I think it's Newcastle. No, is it? No. Eastern was playing, I think they're playing Gold Coast Titans, and Newcastle's playing Parramatta. Great games. Puranjay Shakdiva, your T20 squad. Rohit Sharma, Rahul, Darwin, Kohli, Sky, Pandya, Jadeja, Lord Bumrah, Lord Thakur, Bumrah, Bhuvi, Shami, Shreyas, Ishan, Samson, Rahul, Char, Deepak, Kuldeep. I agree with everything except for Kuldeep. I think he's the one that's going to miss out. Do you think Thakur is the next Bumrah? Well, no, it can't be the next Bumrah because Bumrah's a fast bowler, so he's probably the next. Thakur's next bit should be the best all-rounder. Top 4 did not score. Everyone scored and contributed over the experience. But trust me, it's good all-round thing. Team announcement, we've just mentioned. Twitter page, ANI. Okay. He has a win percentage of 54% as captain. Who has? Thakur. He's not a captain at the moment, but Colley's got 58. So Brisbane's hosting the NRL finals. That's correct. My poor old Sydney, the Sydney Olympic Stadium will not. That's quite Ariam Chahar, how was Macquarie University? I'm a new admit there. Oh, well, I actually went to Macquarie University many years ago. It's in the northwest of Sydney. It's better transported these days. It's got trains and buses and all that going there. Not a bad place. Not a bad place at all. Vera, he's got a 58% record, actually. Your rating pack above Australia in the T20 World Cup? Absolutely. Absolutely. West Indies are above them. I think New Zealand are, slightly. South Africa, well, and Australia, both woeful. Sri Lanka in a woeful category. Bangladesh normally would be considered down there, but if they play like they've just played against Australia and New Zealand, they may go higher. Music Labs, who looks balanced team to win the I'm going to say England and India. England, India, West Indies are the three that I'm most suggesting will win. And then the fourth place will be Pakistan, New Zealand. Fox Cricket part of murder using Collie to get crowds and then posting some useless article. Yeah, that was horrible what Fox Cricket said. Fox Sports, they said that when Collie went, he said that was classless. Well, if they want to start on classless, if Fox Sports want to be hypocritical, have a good look at themselves. Have a good look at Shane Warne and his playing days. Have a look at David Warner with C. Smith and Bancroft. Is that classless? That was baseless and class act. That was in the negative. So look, don't throw glass in your own studio there. By the way, Harmison said though that with the Ashes situation being dicey, you may as well call it a day. Yeah, that was said by Harmison about James Anderson. Maybe they don't get along. It's a very unusual comment. Bangladesh 32 for 3 game on. Well, after what was the score? For God's sake, the score that New Zealand got 93. So, yeah, pretty awful all the way around, really. But don't forget, Bangladesh were at home, so this is, Bangladesh are 3 for 32 after 3 for 34 after 6 overs. So they're going pretty much, at target 94. Bangladesh needs 60 runs off 78 balls. Very doable. I think West Indies will surprise again. I think so too. What do you think about West Indies? I've just talked about Ariam Chahar. I think they're one of the top 3. You reckon Virat might have one more England tour in? Would he be great to get a farewell on the Oval Tour 2024? A farewell. I think classically he won a farewell himself in India. So 2024, I think Kohli will go a lot longer than that. Music Labs. I like India versus West Indies in finals. It'll be a very exciting match. It'd be a brilliant spectacle to watch that for sure. No doubt about that. Shardul, Punt, and Rahul I'd probably secure their place in the Indian Test team. I think so. Unless they are injured, it's going to be hard for others to replace them for a while. Oh, absolutely. Throwing corks at Rahul was classless. Exactly. Having an English guy come in three matches and do stupid things was pretty classless. It was funny, but it was classless. Especially the last performance. That was dumb as hell. The funny thing is Barmy Army took it sportingly and gave invites to join the membership, and people want to make a mess of it. Exactly. Barmy Army would have loved it. They would have actually seen it as an acknowledgement of their whole trumpetry, and it would have been fun. And Kohli was having fun. He was being sarcastic, yeah, but they won the series. They won the match. Great. Classless. Oh, people don't understand Virat Kohli. Australians have got no place. Australian media, Fox Sports, Fox bloody idiots. I'm sorry, it's idiotic to say classless. It's such a hypocrisy. Have a look at your own Dave Warner and the likes of, the way that C. Smith and Bancroft acted. And that's over some time now. We've seen some disgraceful. Matthew Wade's seen some incredible things over time too. And the Australian crowd was surprised. What right have we got to say that was classless? I think Kohli is an absolute class act. He's far superior as far as his history. I mean, how many matches has Steve Smith won without using a bit of sandpaper? Would be my question. Virat Kohli has been incredibly admirable. What the hell are you talking about? Classless. He's having fun. He's emotive. Barmy Army loved it. They didn't take it offensively at all. So where did that come from? Even Michael Vaughan didn't make much of a comment. I think it's Australians. What has the Australian press got to do with an England-Indian series anyway? If anyone had the right to say that, if you think had a right, it would have been England. and their media, but they haven't made it. They made light of it. So, you know, pull your head in, Australian Foxball. Really, pull your head in. That's ridiculous. Mark Waugh was a great cricketer, but not a great analyst. He said before India versus Australia series that punt can't play Test cricket. I'm not going to comment on Mark Waugh. I could go a long way in talking about him, but I've got no intention of talking about him. His brother Steve Waugh is streets ahead of him. My England squad for T20 World Cup: Morgan. This is interesting. Puranjay, Morgan, Roy. They're a great pair with Bairstow, Moen, Rashid, Curran. Was it brothers? Okay, Wood, Plunkett, and Stokes is not available. Butler, Wokes, Milan. It's a pretty good squad, isn't it? What about Liam Livingstone? Have you forgotten Liam Livingstone? I have. If Stokes is at Liam Livingstone, straight in. What do you think is the reason India choking in ICC event? Himanshu Chaudhary, you seem to, I think you've talked about this before. I don't even understand that. They're not choking. In India do not choke. They've been a great side in most World Cups, most ICC championships. They've gone very close. They made the final of the WTC. That's not choking. I don't agree. I don't think they choke at all. That's a strange thing to be saying after what Kohli has done has been incredible. They made the World Test Champions final. They make a lot of ICC event finals or semi-finals. That's an incredible achievement. They can't win every single time, but they've done very well. Surprised Rico is COVID positive, but none of the players. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't quite know what happened there. I don't know how you could be, COVID positive around players as close as you would have been on the bus, in the hotels, around the dressing rooms, around the team talks, discussions around a computer talking about statistics or analysis. I can't believe it either. What do you think about what apparently happened? What extra time of reporting today that they went out to a function outside of the bubble. They attended some sort of function. Shastri and the coaches and the players didn't go, and that's where it apparently happened. And luckily, before that chance, they was quarantined. What do you think about some clowns like Daniel Alexander and Compton who throw their comments, just make a joke out of them? Yeah, just ignore stupid comments, really. It's what you do. Music labs. Do you think IPL will help back players to get accustomed to weather and pitches, or it will waste of time? No, it's fantastic rehearsal for individuals. It's a fantastic rehearsal for individual players, absolutely. Teamwork, well, it won't, unless some of the players are playing together in the same club or team, then that won't be a team development. For example, the Australian players that go there will certainly get a lot of value out of playing on the pitches individually, but it's a team sport. Australia have played badly against the West Indies and Bangladesh, chopped and changed. Half the team was available, half of them wasn't. Where are they all going to get together? It's going to be very limited exposure. Australia's going to suffer badly because of that fact alone. Any chance for Flower to replace Langer? I haven't heard anything about Flower at all being that want to replace Langer at this stage. Australia, other than Mickey Arthur, don't really go outside of Australia for coaches. I still think and maintain Andrew McDonald's the assistant coach, then Jason Gillespie, or even Trevor Bayliss. They'd be the picks to bring into play. Shreyas Iyer makes this middle order really strong. Would love to see him playing at number 4 or number 4. Well, if Kohli is up the order, maybe, but he was injured, don't forget. And how well has he recovered? Murdoch Boo, yeah, Rupert Murdoch's not that bad. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you. Possible whitewash, a washout with hardly 5 or 6 sessions possible. There's going to be very heavy rain. Is that what Dave Sharp's saying? I really missed 2016 Kohli. Saharsha Tucker-Pelbelli. You're saying that he was better then. No, maybe batting-wise individually, but as a team, he's probably grown as a captain and maybe his personal form suffered somewhat. It happens. Who has made it to the Indian T20 squad? We're going to find out that at about 9 p.m. IST, which is about 1:30 in the morning Australian time. Oh, my God. I should replace Rahane long term. Perhaps he will. By the way, 90% of the quote tweets are against the article. Fox is copying blows heavily on the internet. Well, they should be. Uncalled for, unnecessary. What the hell was that about? What was that? Were they trying to win over somebody? Were they trying to win over the English crowd? They certainly didn't. It was dumb. I mean, Indian press, when say Australia play England in a series, Indian press don't come out and make comments about these sort of things. The only thing that deserves that commentary would be the Dave Warner incident with Smith and Bancroft. That was distinctly worthy of that. Australia went harder at those three than even other countries did, as a matter of fact. So other countries were a little bit more lenient on those three. I don't think they deserve it. So Dave Sharp, I'm guessing, Dave, you're based in England, and you're saying there's going to be very heavy rain, possibly a washout with hardly 5 or 6 sessions possible. That'll suit India down to the ground because it will allow them to win the series and rest some of their players prior to both IPL and the World Cup. Why do I love India so much? I love cricket. I love cricket so much. I love the West Indies when they play well. I love India when they play well. I love Australia and England when they play well. South Africa, Sri Lanka was probably more my favourite because I was married to a Sri Lankan and knew the Sri Lankan players intimately, both men and women. So, no, I love all countries. I'm liking India at the moment because they're doing well, and it's great cricket. It's exciting to watch, and the future of cricket is in India. So why wouldn't I be supporting it? So, Ariam Chahar, it's not why do I love India so much, it's why do I like cricket so much. I love cricket, and at the moment, India are playing really well, so I'm supporting them. And if India played badly, I would still support them, but it's more to do with India is where the heart of cricket is. The engine room of cricket in the world is definitely India, certainly to an extent England and Australia and a number of other countries. And they're going to bring on the rest of the world. And with such things as the Olympics, women's cricket around the world, the USA, which is the second biggest audience, which has a lot of Indian support and subcontinent support and West Indian support, there's your future. So I've talked about several countries there. I even want to see Bangladesh do well. I want to see Pakistan do well. Yeah, so I'm upset with Australia because they're not doing well and they're stuffing it up, not based on necessarily players' ability, but a players stuffing it with sandpaper gate, not getting enough exposure at shield level, not encouraging sport at the grassroots level for men's cricket. Women's cricket, they've got it going well, and they're the top team in the world. Hence that. Great example. Women's cricket in Australia is number one. They're number one in the world, probably by quite a way. That's because they've got women's cricket right in this country. In Sydney, it's brilliant. It's the hardest competition, all the hardest competition played in Sydney. And the players have incredible exposure, equal to a World Series Cup every week when they play here. Hence, we've got the strongest side both in Sydney, in New South Wales, and in Australia, and then the world. So there you go. I don't think Hardik is out of test yet. The injury set him back, but he's had performances which show glimpses of his past self. Now that he's bowling again, I think he'll make his way back. His back injury seems to be inhibiting, not unlike Jofra Archer's elbow. India will thrash New Zealand at home. That's one thing I think is for sure. India will be very vengeful, very upset, very much. Not that they don't hate New Zealand, but they're going to try and repay the favour of being beaten in the World Test Championship at home. Watch out, New Zealand. Steve Waugh was the best Aussie captain. He certainly was 71% record of wins. And Punter had the best team, and he was second best percentage. Third is Williamson by 1%, then Coley. They're the top four. And Danny Martin was unfortunate that he was born in that era. Why? He played for Australia and played well. I don't think he was necessarily captain material. Should Natarajan play in the T20 World Cup 11? Well, is he fit? Is the first question. How much practice has he had? How much has he been playing? Maybe his IPL form may be able to help him, but saying we're picking the side in a matter of a few hours, you'd have to argue there's little hope of Natarajan being picked. That's my thoughts. Jose down under, what are the chances for a New South Wales guy to watch the first Ashes test at the Gabba, provided the Ashes is not cancelled, of course? Buckley's. At this point, they're considering even letting international people fly in December without quarantine and hotels, which would be a dramatic moment. Sydney's got 1,500 a day new cases with a handful of deaths, which is not great. We've got our percentage of vaccination. I think we're up around 70-odd% on the first dose, not the second dose. So that's September. It'll take well into November before we get a lot of second doses done. It doesn't look good. It is just allowed to not love another country they perform well. Exactly. Virat Kohli was in the function with Shastri, was he? I don't think he was. I didn't hear that. Dave Sharp. Border was one of the best Aussie captains. He was, but unfortunately, Dave, he didn't win that as many matches unless he did it himself. And I think I brought this set up yesterday. Border was an amazing captain. There's no doubt about that. He was a he scored in one test match, I think it was against the West Indies, 150 in both innings, which is just incredible. I'm going to pull that record up again. I think that's a very significant record to bring up, guys. Let's have a look. Individual records. Let's have a look. Most matches as captain. There we go. Okay. So, we just mentioned Alan Border. Alan Border. I'm just trying to find out where he is. Alan Border captained for 93 tests. He captained for 93 tests. That's an enormous amount of captaincy. Graham Smith, virtually, when he first came in at the age of 21, 22, was almost immediately captain. I think he was immediately captain. And he captained throughout his entire career almost for 109 test matches. So Border won only 32 of his 93. And drew 38. Some of them fighting efforts, I'm pretty sure. But his win record was 34%. Our loss record was 23%. So that's not very good. It's not that bad, but it's not that good either. Graham Smith, who was 109 tests, he won the most tests as captain. 53 of his 109 he won as captain. Lost 29, drew 27. 48%. Pretty damn good. Ponting, 62%. Lloyd, which was another great captain, 48. Stephen Fleming, captain a lot, but he only had 35%, which is not that great. Coley, 58% after being captain for 65 matches. 38 wins. So at the moment, Smith with 53, Ponting with 48, then effectively Coley has the most wins as captain, third most wins. One is Smith, who played the most, so you'd have to think his chances were better. Ponting, who had an incredible average of 62%, won 48 matches. Only lost 13. Incredible. Sorry, only lost 16, drew 13. Didn't draw many matches in Ponting, either one lost them. But that's, again, I'll repeat that. Fifth, the most tests won as captain, Graham Smith 53, Ponting 48, and then third is Coley on 38. So he's looking very, very good. If he continues captaining for another 3 or 4 years, he will probably go down as having won the most test matches as captain of anyone. It's a pretty big record. Coley has won he's won 38 matches out of 65, lost 16, which is a very low number, drew 11, so he's actually drew less than Ponting, but he's played more. He's only captain. Ponting only captained 12 more matches, but out of those 12 matches, he won 10 of the 12. So, that's a pretty high record for Coley to reach. Ponting certainly is his second best record, but the best, Steve Waugh, 57 test matches as captain, so less than Coley. He won 41 of them, lost 9, drew 7, 71.92%. Huge effort. He's the best. We go well down the order there to Williamson at the moment. He's done very well as well, but he's had a pretty good era. Where's Williamson? He's down there somewhere. I'm just trying to think Williamson's at the percentage. Even Michael Clark had 51%, which is pretty good. Let me have a look. Yeah, Williamson's captain for 37, won 22, lost 8 and drew 7. He has 59.45. Coley has 58.46. 1% difference. It's, not worth getting too excited. Also, do you think this current test team has the capability of becoming the Australia best? Yes, absolutely. Don't you think this is in his best team test team? Yes. Yes. It's going to go down. If they keep going next 2 or 3 years like this, they'll be rated the best team ever. But they have to continue doing it, of course. Thank you, Praveen. I'll send a pic in which you can see your and other team members in the function. Okay, please do. My Music Lab says a fantasy team 11 for the Australia would be Warren, Lemmy, Maxwell, Smith, Marsh, Wade, Moses and Rex Amper, Pat Cummins, Stark, Jai Richardson. I don't mind that side. I really like Chris Lynn being included massively. But are you leaving out Aaron Finch, or is his injury too severe? Yes, Australia going to play anyone at home from 21st September. That's right. and in Queensland. Well, it's going to be, I think it's going to be Sydney, but it's not. Yeah, okay. Well, I'm not sure about all that. Have you been to the Hunter Valley at Byron Bay? It's beautiful. Yes, I have. Many times. I'll certainly be there. Swage looks a tidy rhythm bowler. Yeah, he didn't look that good. Very much surpassed Steve Waugh if we get another 4 tests. No, Steve Waugh has played as captain 57 times. Coley's already kept captain 65. Yeah, 4 more, as in wins you're talking about, yes. But, so he's 4th, actually, not 3rd. You're right. I'll take that back. So it's Graham Smith, 53, Ponting, 48, Waugh, 41, and then you have Coley on 38. So if he wins this next test, he's 39. He wins a couple against New Zealand. He's caught up to Waugh. And we'll have Ponting in his sights and probably Graham Smith as well. So Virat Kohli, what are we talking about not having this captain? God knows, that's a mistake. Do you think India needs a right arm spinner? Maybe Ashwin and Sundar, not available to put against them. Yeah, it's going to be interesting what they're going to do there. I'll set a pick. Okay, you've done this and that. Great prediction. Do you think India need a left-arm bowler? Well, if Natarajan's the solution, or that Krishna, is that Krishna left-hand? I keep forgetting you. Your all-time favourite Australian Test captain. Well, it has to be Steve Waugh. Ponting would be up there. I liked Alan Border too, but I like Ian Chappell. Ian Chappell doesn't get a look on that list. I don't know where Ian Chappell is on that list. Ian Chappell was captain for 30 matches, won 15, lost 5, and drew 10. 50%. Pretty good performance, to be honest. Richie Beno was captain for 28, only won 12. Not that great a record. Bill Lowry, Tendulkar. Tendulkar was captain for 25 test matches. He only won 4 matches, lost 9, drew 12. Not an exciting record, but he was a great player. We all know that. Are you sure Australia will win the next Test Ashes series? No, I'm not confident. Well, it's going to depend on how they come together, because they are not going to play any Test cricket or any form of long-form cricket before they get to the Afghanistan Test, which some of them won't make because they'll be in the World Cup. They'll be in quarantine, and they'll be sitting there watching the game on TV, and they'll go straight into the first Test match against England at home without any prep. I guess the same goes for some of the England players. But then England are playing cricket right now. They're playing Test cricket right now, which is great to be able to do. Fifth Test match, England changed Moeen Ali, replaced Jack Leach. It could be. Moeen Ali's out. It looks, well, sorry. Moeen Ali's in. That's what Joe Root apparently has just said. And Butler will also be included, so that means Pope will probably not be there. And if they're going to bring Leach in, they have to get rid of another bowler, because it looks like they may bowl 2 bowlers. And that's what they're saying. If Leach is going to get a go, it'll be with Ali already there. I don't see any other spinner circles. So Maxwell and Smith can bowl if required. Is that for the T20? Yeah. Adam Zampa and Ash Nagar, the 2. Yeah, I think Arpani has got every chance to do that if he keeps captaining, which he deserves to. If he plays another 3 years, he may not. He's got to get past Graham Smith in terms of the number of matches. He has to play for another 44 Test matches as captain. That's going to be a big call. It'll take at least 4 years, if not 5 or 6 years, to get that. It's possible, but that'll be a big call. But he's got to get 15 Test match wins to get to that record. He could do it. He could do it. Baram Marani, where are you? India to select 15 plus 5 squads, so basically 20 players. Is it 5 reserves? I thought it was 3. If it's 5 or that, there's a lot of players they can pick from. Did you think India can look upon now Thakur's overseas awareness of party? Yes. That's what their plan is. Michael Clark was good up. Michael Clark, as I said earlier, I think he had a 50% record, which was not bad, but he had a great team. What was he? He was he captained for 47 Test matches, won 24. So just over half, 51%. Lost 16, though, and drew 7. I think more than 50% is a pretty good effort. Shikhar Dhawan kept in the 220. He deserves to. Why Team Australia not looking good? So there's just so many issues. Coach, selections, the grassroots cricket's all a bit lacking at the moment. How do you define a captain's legacy in a career? By their attitude. Unfortunately, Steve Smith, helped by Warner and Bancroft, has stuffed his captaincy by what happened in that incident and has never recovered and probably never will. Tim Payne, despite not being a great captain, was quite admirable. But Steve Waugh, the grit and determination, him and Border and Ponting that's why those three were the best. I mean, even Brabham was pretty good, don't forget. Clarkey, 50%, wasn't too bad. Fifth test, I've got so many bloody things, there's so many. Fifth test, England changed no one else replaced. No. Can you stop repeating yourself? That is out for Fox Sports. Well, stupid comment. It probably was some person. It was done on an internet thing. It may have been a mistake made by an individual rather than Fox Sports generally. So let's be careful. It may not. You can't blame Fox Sports in general, but whoever approved that was a bit dumb. It was sensational to say the least. How to define captaincy? I'm going to talk about that. An Aussie-Indian final for the World T20. How is Australia going to be in it? How can Australia beat England and the West Indies? That's very unlikely. They didn't beat the West Indies just recently. They got beaten 4-1. Will you go watch the day-night test match? I'm trying to do everything. I'll keep them finished as third. Okay. Is there any guest coming? Good question. It was meant to be Mervyn Richards, Viv Richards' brother, but maybe he couldn't make it. Barmy Army, yes. Fox. Okay. Good to Ashwin is unlikely to play the fifth test. It's still unlikely, but if he does, it'll be on the basis if they're going to bring Jack Leach in with Moeen Ali, they may bring Jadeja and Ashwin, and that's telling us the pitch is going to spin, which is not exactly what they are likely to have happen. Yeah, well, we'll wait and see about that, guys. The Indians versus Pakistan World Cup final, that would be an absolute amazing match. Wouldn't it be a fantastic match to watch? Brian, how are you? Do you think the popularity of football in England is now actually hurting England cricket? No, not really. Can Rahul Chahar? Yes, it's possible. That is pathetic saying what the Australians saying or what? Yeah. I don't know. That's a heavy statement. Did you follow the Daniel Michael, the player from us? Yeah, I mean, the Paralympics did well in Australia, as well as other countries. Fox did not talk about Warner, Bancroft, Smith. Why talk about Vera Kohli? Exactly. A bit embarrassed. I think they were. Yeah, this is quite a squad. The Russell, Pollard, Holder, Lewis, Roach, Fabian, Puran, Bravo, Gale, Hope, Meyer, Cottrell, Thomas. Solid side, solid squad. They're going to be pretty hard. The reserves are 3-5-7 max. I thought it was 3, but if it's 5, it doesn't. They're reserves anyway. I have no qualms about how many people they use as reserves. Conditions may dictate that, especially with COVID-19, because you can't fly them in last minute. They've got to go through quarantine. It is. They probably would deserve to have a complete team ready to go. But Clark was not a good role model. No, he had some issues. You're right. When he was returned, he probably won't. Don't see wasn't Jaffa Mantle with Michael Vaughan recently. What happened? Maybe it's a truce. Maybe you're right. Individual, we're good. Now, when you are a traveller, what's your favourite food around the world? Anything with a curry, anything spicy. Today in practice, Ashwin and Virat Kohli and Pujara were there. Also, Pujara did not bat, rather he did fielding drills and Rahul batted. So Ash may get a game and Pujara seems dicey. That's probably a fair summation. Pujara would have to be dicey because his ankle injury was quite severe. I was quite shocked that he continued batting, to be honest. It was a bit of a shock to me. All teams should have reserves. They should have more than 3 or 4. They should have as many as they want, really. They should have a full squad, another squad of players separate somewhere, shouldn't they? I mean, otherwise it'll destabilise the whole World Cup, shouldn't they? Imagine if a complete team goes down with COVID-19 or is under quarantine. Then the whole team has to be like what happened recently with England against Pakistan at home. They've got a full 11 replacements. Wouldn't be a bad idea to bring the whole team there. Well, I don't think Josh. It's a great question, Barama. Maybe he was careful with his quarantine approach. Maybe he kept away from everyone else but his wife and his baby. And then you have to argue it's fair enough. And maybe he wasn't in the hospital ward when it happened. Maybe he was there outside. Maybe he was. I'm sure they would have went through all the cautions. Coley and Ronaldo going to meet at Manchester. Well, James Anderson may meet them bumping into each other when one comes off the boundary by a bowling and one comes to the boundary like a corner. Maybe that would be the case. When you sleep, buddy, have a sound sleep. Yeah, transient. Don't worry, it's 10:47 p.m. It's not late at all, really. I started much earlier tonight. Why Smith brings out the best in Australia? Wouldn't you want to see him lead? Let him bat. Let him bat. Let him bat and lead by his batting, by captaincy. Unfortunately, he is monumentally stuffed with that whole instant corner. And he's not recovered and he won't recover. He shouldn't have to recover. Whereas Mike Clark, what is he doing this time? He's commentary, endorsements. But I would, okay, there's squished upside there. Looks like enough players picked there. No, what other quarantine rules with respect to the Bible if all the players and coaches are fully vaccinated? Or they can't be exposed. If one falls with COVID-19, it's not so much the players within the group, it's more anyone around it that may spread to other teams or other officials and players if they play against other teams. That spread is probably more the issue than it, because it's kept within the team. But once they play other teams, the exposure rates are high, especially with the ball in the middle of the field and everything, and the rest of it. So the reality is that the more players they have in reserve, the better, I would argue. Because if you've got 15, if you have 3 reserves, that's 7 extra players. It's almost a team, isn't it? It's a very interesting point. So many fake reports of Coley and Ronaldo meeting, which is absolutely fake. It's funny how people believe it. Well, it's good media, isn't it? A bit of fun. Best Aussie Test squad for me was under Ponting. Yeah, but Steve Waugh, what's your take on Honey's future tests? Or Mitchell Chan, at this point, he's not out of the team. He's still vice captain. So, there's a lot to be said about he's got the chance back at home to resurrect his career, including the 5th test. And normally will England be an impression of the 5th test? Of course they are. They're behind 2-1. There's enormous pressure on England. More than India, because India are in the ascendancy. England have to win this. They can't draw it. They certainly can't lose it. So, that's the reality of the situation. It's quite dramatic for England. England are still upbeat because they have a chance to draw. But, realistically, they're... What's going on here? This must be more than 26. Looks like most people have just stayed around. We've got the one group. Must be something wrong with that. Okay. Well, have you travelled to Kerala, India? Cricketers there rarely, so maybe you haven't. You will like the food there. I was in Sri Lanka, which is virtually a form of Kerala, isn't it? Southern Indian food and Sri Lankan food are very similar. So I know what it's like. I haven't been there. I'd like to go on one of the boats in Kerala on the water there. It'd be great. Okay, he's been fully vaccinated. Just because you're fully vaccinated doesn't mean you can't get COVID. We all know that. You just can't die of it. But you can still be contagious. You still can get it and give it to others. That's the issue. So it's not really about necessarily the cut that they are. But then there are strains out there now that we have no guarantee whether any vaccine will take on, which is a worry, if you ask me. Yeah, there's certainly my computer's playing quite a bit here. Okay. And who? The women's squad are all here. They've been in quarantine for some time in Brisbane. I saw Tanya Bhatia on social media posting every day. She's here. The team's here. They've been here for a while. I think they might be coming out of COVID within them, out of quarantine next week or so. And they're in Brisbane and Queensland, which is pretty good. Do you think Australia making a big deal out of this quarantine and family issue? Maybe Morrison wants to compete with New Zealand, who have eradicated COVID since a long time ago. Well, New Zealand haven't eradicated COVID. They've got COVID cases coming back already. It looks as though it's going to be, by the time, it'll be manageable. It won't be great, but it'll be manageable. They're not going to stop players bringing their family. ICC Player of the Month for August, in your opinion? For August? Oh, gee. Root or Rahul? If England doesn't win first session on day one, they'll be under huge pressure. They certainly will be. They certainly will be. It'll be quite messy then. There's no doubt about that. Should try coconut prawn curry. It sounds nice. Would like that for sure. Do you think country borders will open this year? Well, Australia's saying they're going to allow tourists who are COVID vaccinated, who are COVID negative, to enter and be quarantined in a certain manner other than in the full lockdown, which is a great potential. New Zealand women playing England, you're right. Root Robinson and Rahul for the best player. They're pretty close. Can't understand England's tactics with Johnny Best. I think he's out of form at the moment and short of confidence. Try prawn vindaloo. Look, you're making me bloody hungry, Biram. You know, what's the point of making me hungry? I don't want to be hungry. I want to eat. All right, guys. Which country has the best domestic structure in your opinion? For women, Australia, by far. England's pretty close. New Zealand's not bad. For men's, India. Ranji Trophy's fantastic. Australia's waning. England's very good with the county system. New Zealand has proven to be great because they actually have New Zealand A side as well. Brahm, come live. IPL or World Test Championship, what's better? Well, IPL's more exciting. World Test Championship was just one match. Whole day at my place due to typhoon. Felt like Trent Bridge last day. Typhoon, eh? Typhoon Baram. Is that what we're going to call it? Baram, you can come on if you want to. Who's next in line after Lion? Sweption, I don't think much of him. I'd argue Zampa should be able to play Test cricket, or perhaps the other guy. I've got his name now. The tall guy. I've got his name. No, I think Zampa should come in. Do you think Gill may potentially be at middle order now? Great question. He was the first choice opening batter of the series, but injured himself. Then Agarwal came in, injured himself, and Rahul came in. Rahul's now jumped them both. I mean, I can order online. I can't order online and be live. Can't do both of them. Am I going to the UAE for the World Test Championship, World Cup? I'm meant to be putting in my application today or tomorrow, but it's not about them giving me the entrance to the UAE or me not getting accreditation. It's nothing to do with any of that. It's more to do with, will Australia let me go? That's Ashton Agar. That's what Ashton Agar and Zampa should play Test cricket. Is Lion the best spinner in Australia at present? Well, he certainly has been. He certainly has been. He's almost got 400 Test wickets. 600 score, missing Test, declining batsmen. It's more the pitches and the bowling. Do you think Gill will play in India against New Zealand? Yes, I think he will. I think he'll be picked again. Gill in middle order is a good play. You might even see Gill jump into the team. I'd even think he could even become a future first dropper after Pujara. Yeah, exactly. Up on number 3. I just said that, and I agree with you. Mitchell Charles, should India go with Sky instead of Rahane last test? No, they won't do that. Prediction on India versus Pakistan 2020 World Cup. Mihir Trivedi, look, that's a hard one. You'd have to say India, but Pakistan on their day could beat anyone. So, that's going to be a great match when that turns up. It's going to be a fantastic match. No doubt about that at all. Absolute corker of a match. All the best for the creators. Will be great to cover the tournament from so close. It will, but I'm still great the way I am now. Gill open and Rahul at number 5 if Rahane did not perform in the 5th test. Well, Gill's not going to play in the 5th test, and Rahul won't change from being open, so that's not going to happen for the 5th test. Gill's still in India, or he may be on his way to UAE. He's not in England, so that's out of the question. Out of the equation. Yeah, who cares? It was really fun. When is India versus Australia Test series in India? I think that's a few years away now. I think James Anderson will want to finish the 5th test of next year's summer series in England. That's my prediction. Last time India scored 60 runs plus overseas. Yeah, but that's not a problem. They got 466, which won them the game, didn't they? October 2022 was the next time that Australia play India. That's not very far away. What's your prediction on the Ashes? 5 tests, 3-2. Well, 2-all in the last tests. Australia might win 3-2. I think reason of not seeing Simpsons as DRS, one factor, certainly. Just great bit of bowling and the batting conditions. They're not in England, my God, they're wicked. And in India, the conditions weren't conducive to score the runs like. And the team dynamics at the time and the timing of the game, why would you hit 600? It's draw-like material. They're not playing for draws these days, are they? Are you seeing that around making up the World Cup T20 playing 11? He didn't play for long now. I think it's extremely unlikely. Extremely unlikely. Yes, it's actually Shubman Gill's birthday today. And it's actually Jason Sanger's birthday. I think they're both 22. No one beat by tonight. BCL will announce T20 World Cup squad in the yes, Dick Shun, and I don't know. But it's still another 2.5 hours away. Not what I meant for the series in New Zealand. Okay. Great era of sport journalism. We have so many opinions available to hear in podcasts and the like. There's quite a few, isn't there? Final word, Mel Farrell and Norman. Well, final word has Jeff Lemon and Adam Collins and Mel Farrell and Bharat and myself. We know each other really well. We've known each other for years, so we're good friends, I think. As a batsman, Smith or Ponting? Ponting. As a workhorse, he certainly has proven to be, hasn't he, over quite a long time. Quite a long time indeed. Very, very impressive man. He didn't have always his own way. I can still remember distinctly James Anderson bowling to Langer and Hayden getting absolutely pulverised in Australia and looked very ordinary. It looked like he was never going to bowl again. But he did. You see, I've seen Insta post wishing Gill birthday. To take a look. I will. Nice kid, Gill. That's for. What a hotspot technology not used in England? No idea. I think it's a technicality more than else. Do you think Bhuvi would have been a good bowler for the series? He swings like, yeah, he would have been, but he wasn't there due to injury. He came back. He played well in Sri Lanka. He's in the World Cup contention. Neither Narendra or Sundar Hunch. Washington Sundar apparently still injured because he don't forget Washington Sundar and there was that other bowler, I can't remember his name now, and Gill all left, and then we had the likes of Krishna come into play, and then we had Prithvi Shaw and Sky all came over because of Sundar in particular and Gill going. Do you think the grounds should cover the whole ground matches of heavy rain so they can start play as soon as possible? Well, they've got these great super soppers and these ropes that do it all, and they've got the major hovercraft type things. In England, they've got the best products to actually take care of a ground, don't I? Ash Lahoti is live now. He's talking the T20 World Cup African qualifier. That's for the women. India could have won 3-1 if rain stopped. Yeah, that's true. Do you think there's a possibility India rests Bumrah? Yes, there is a strong possibility. Do you think Bhuvi should play Test cricket again? Yes. Yes. India plays Australian 4-match Test series in September 2020 before going to Australia for T20 World Cup. If that happens to be there, who knows with these COVID situations, God knows where it's going to be. I suppose not allowed to say the least. It should never be used in innocent. Yeah. Why do they call it a bowling spell? Why spell? Is it magic? But Baram, you're the only one that cracks magic. It's what you tell me you do. Haven't seen much evidence of the magic, but maybe your partner will tell us more. A bowling spell, you get spelled like a horse does after you bowl, like the post two. I mean, in hotspot, they always have that problem of using Vaseline foot there. I know. What do you have to say about Fox? I already talked about it quite a bit. I think it was disgusting. Was it magic by Bumrah? Yes, it certainly was. Is the squad announced? No, Harsh Gupta. It'll be announced in about 2.5 hours' time by what we're hearing. I can check, but I don't think I've heard of it. I'm not getting any other indication of any. No, I don't know any more at this stage. If they're saying 9 p.m. IST, which it'll be 1:30 in the morning where I am. Must have been some intern at Fox. It could well have been. Are you a fan of the 10-team IPL? I think it's too many. My honest thoughts are. What are your team that qualify for the World Cup in 2023 in India? We're talking about the ODIs, are we? Oh, it's too far away. I don't know. Do you believe India should go with Sharma if he's fit? Yeah, I think they should. Bumrah is the best Indian cricket magician with the ball. He certainly is. Why they call it the Boxing Day Test? Because that's more of a traditional thing. It was deemed to be a Boxing Day, the day after Christmas. It's a term that's just stuck. There is no boxing that happens on Boxing Day, but it's a term that's stuck. I mean, England has a history of racially abusing South African players. Talk about classless. Yeah, but it wasn't England that complained about this classlessness. It was Australia. Do you think Afghanistan cricket can become better? They've been amazing so far. Yes, 18 is better, especially considering times. Well, that's a hard one. They've gotten through it so far. Pitches of Bangladesh are worse for T20. Well, it's only worse for the opposition of Bangladesh because Bangladesh seem to be handling it very, very well, don't they? What is the score in that match? Oh, scores home. Oh, this is the score in the match. Let's have the scores in that match. So Bangladesh 4 for 76, 4 for 77, 17.2 overs. So Bangladesh needs 17 runs and 16 balls. You would think they would get it with 4 wickets down. You'd think they would have the wherewithal to get that. It's close otherwise, but you'd think run a ball. It's a pretty good example. We'll see. Bangladesh needs 17 off 16 balls. Bangladesh not making fair pitch. No, I don't know that's that at all. Need 18 off 7 or 17 off 16 now. We'll keep on revising that. We'll see what the story is. That's quite interesting, isn't it? I'll have some drink here. Do I think Ashton will be selected for the T20 World Cup? Honestly, no. I don't think so. What is your opener in the world? Rohit Virat or Rohit Bahul? Well, Virat has expressed a desire to open the batting, but I think they'll open initially with Rohit and Rahul if they get there in time. Well, wouldn't want to play cricket or any other sports until you're right. Actually, the women's Afghani team are hiding at the moment. Harsh Gupta, do you think Ashwin will be selected for the T20 World Cup? No. Why is Sri Lanka cricket fallen out of office about that? It's because of their squads, their administration, their overcooking of teams, having too many teams, all sorts of issues. I think so. They've got talent, that's for sure. If you talk to someone like Simon Willis, who had lots to do with it, he'll tell you how many great players they have there. What's your opinion on IPL? I mean, for money, fame, it keeps cricket alive. It's brought T20 to another level. It's been the best thing IPL. It's been, 14, 15 years. It's been fantastic. Coke and rum. Banster boy gave you the recipe. That was just Coke, Banster, but rum. Shreyas Iyer has been injured for some time. There's been a very severe shoulder injury. He had surgery. He was recovering or recovered, and he has played a bit, but he's nowhere near his best. Sri Lanka has no domestic structure. It's a mess. It's fractured all over the place. It's apparently awful. I don't know enough about it of late, but they don't know what they're doing there. And then they have these other competitions. They have people fighting and politics, corruption, backburning, backfiring, this, that, the other. This, back bickering, bloody Arjuna around talking. Oh, blah, that was the dumbest comment of this decade, I reckon. It was Arjuna saying, "Oh, that was India's second string team. How insulting!" Well, it was insulting that Sri Lanka was so bloody bad. If Bangladesh host Asian team, will they make this kind of pictures? Probably. It's a good question though. If IPL has 10 teams, then it will be more interesting for the spot in the semis. Yes, but I'm worried. The thing that worries me about 10 teams, I'm not really worried about. 10 teams, I think it's great if they can fill good players, yes. And they get a lot more domestic players that go too. But I think it's more the issue of how long the tournament goes. They've played 29 matches. They've got 31 to go. That's 60 matches. I believe with 10 teams, it goes up to 84, which is ginormous. That could be a month extra time. It could be at least a month extra. So that's the problem. It's 24 extra matches, which mean you either play a lot more on one day or you extend the whole thing another month, which is a big ask. Aya has recovered recently, joined by T6. Yeah, he has. Whether he's being recovered and being at your best are two different things, though, aren't they? You can recover from an injury but still be weakened or not match practiced or match hardened. That's the issue. That's more the issue than anything else, guys. It's funny. I gave a 2-minute recorded interview to another platform, and they used it, and I decided I wanted to use it as well, and they've copyright claimed it. How can you copyright claim my PowerPoint, my presentation? I didn't sign over a contract to do that. So 2 more weeks of cricket and you can't schedule matches. Yeah, exactly. Do you think they will play Leach and Butler? Well, they're going to play Butler. They're going to play Moeen. Pope won't play. Leach is the possibility to join Moeen as a second spinner. So that's what the latest we're hearing. Which country do you think has a chance of making the next big cricket history? Nepal or someone from Europe or the Africa? So it's a loaded question. There's all sorts of possibilities. Oman, I think, is the one that's going to push through, or even New Papua New Guinea or the USA. It's crucial for India to get the batting order right, subject to conditions. True. Do you think there can be a tri-series between India and Australia? That would be one Bobby Dazzler of a series, and where would it be played is the question. But it'll happen. I think it should happen in Australia, let's say. I like spinning pitches. I mean, Santa countries, Southeast, is that Santa Southeast Asia? I guess it's about how to, yeah. I don't know how you're doing, Cricket Legends. How are you? Yash Campbell, can Bangladesh surprise the team for making himself considering their wins against Aussie New Zealand? Well, if they're playing on Bangladeshi pitches, absolutely. But is the UAE that different? Is the question. No IPL brand value is 6.5 billion repaying playing. Puran J Sanjeev, I had to play for DC, but Pant will captain. That's what I've heard too. No, it was Christy Doran of Fox wrote the article. Have you heard of him? Christy Doran? No. Christy? No. I don't think if it's Christy's a girl, I'm assuming. It doesn't matter who it is. They're pretty bloody stupid. They did it to sensational and that backfired. South of England, New Zealand, Australia. Okay. Okay, let's see. Watch Michael on the spot. Yeah, he speaks quite well there. He's a very knowledgeable guy. He's probably one of the most knowledgeable guys there, to be honest. So I'm going to announce that, yes, that's correct at 9 p.m. Bulgaria is right, which is still 2 hours, 20 minutes away. And we're not going to be on this live that long. It'll be too long. It'll be 3 hours and 57 minutes, almost 4 hours. No, it's too long. Okay. We've gone a bit over an hour and a half, guys. I don't see too much more point in going too much further. Especially I'm not going to be any guess. So now here, probably let's talk about his side. Okay. It's pretty good. Yeah, I saw that. That was pretty good. That was actually at Sticky Wicket and Antigua, right next to VC Bird International Airport. I know the ground well. A singer artist. I'm Australian, so my artist wouldn't be the same as yours. Beatles, Rolling Stones. Thank you, Dave Sharp. Where are you from, Dave? Bangladesh. They 5 of 11. They just hit a 6. Okay, well there you go. Yeah, it's 89. So 4 off 9. Looks like Bangladesh are going to win that. They're going to go 3-1 up, aren't they? Because 93 is pretty ordinary effort. Yeah, so Bangladesh are 90 for 4. 4 runs off 9 balls. So they made it with 1 stroke, mightn't they? Let's wait and see. Tomorrow, guys, we will have a session about 5 p.m. Indian time, 9:30 here. And that'll be the full preview of the 5th test. This is more of a conjecture discussion. 5th test preview in full tomorrow, leading into the next day, which will be the preview of the game leading up to the match hours before, and obviously a post as well. Vaughan supported colleagues today on Fox, the back page, yeah. What's the likelihood of Norman becoming Aussie coach in the near future? Love to, but I don't think it's going to happen. Michael Vaughan is knowledgeable but emotional, but a funny guy. Overall, he is funny, and he means well. Hello, Norman. How are you? I'll ask you. Hearing that Rahane and Bumrah might be rested for the last test. Why would you be resting Rahane? I don't think Rahane needs resting. Where are you hearing that? Said Vic Burrow. Elvis Presley was a legend. He certainly was. Muhammadullah hits the 6. I'm not seeing any change to the score at this point in time. So a dot ball there, 4 runs from 8 balls. Plenty of time. Bulvey should be selected for the T20 World Cup squad. You'd think so, you'd hope so. Please make it with BCCI President Saraf Gunguli. Having met the man, he's a lovely man, I'd love to, but I don't think he's exactly just able to freely give interviews, but I have a lot of respect for him. Why some matches that start on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday should say start on Thursday, so Sunday and as day 4 cracking last day against the crowds on Monday. Okay, but you're in the Philippines. What has that got to do with you? Why should you bother with that? Having fun with him. New Zealand pretty ordinary. Well, they certainly seem to be. Why? There's T20 OG shows in this series. Yeah, good question. Hi, Barama. Quick Legends having a chat with Quick Legends and Barama. Is there something going on between you two? It should be a match between etc. champion versus world champion. Okay. What about T20 squad discussions? What today? We've already. I had that Barama running. I had that before when you weren't here. I can't keep repeating myself because I'm waiting for you to turn up. But we did go through that. We talked about that already earlier. And there's my community page. I've put a lot of posts there. If you have a look at that, Crisco will play the 20 World Cup. He will definitely play the World Cup. So no, not reliable source. Rahane Bumrah. No, I don't think. On social media, no, I heard of this. Resting disguise is dropped for. It won't be rested. Rahane won't be rested exactly. Why don't Australia approach Ponting to be national coach? Has he never applied? Well, he'd be pretty good, I would argue, but I don't know whether he's quite wanting to yet. And he's good mates with Justin Langer, so I don't think they're going to get each other's way. New Zealand, bring us an update. The fizz up is up. There's 3 runs off 7 balls, is what I'm hearing. I'm going to say a session to discuss the final announced T20 squad. Yeah, I'm going to, Bram, if I'm still awake and it's 1:30 tonight and it comes out and I hear it, I'll come and talk about it. Okay? Well, Bram, if you want to come on, I'll give you a link to that. All right? So there's 2 runs off 6 balls here. It looks like Bangladesh are going to win this and win 3-1. I don't know if this is the last T20, but we're pretty close to it. How many wickets left? They're 4 down. They've got 6 wickets in hand. They've got 2 runs off 6 balls. Ooh, it's getting a little bit tight. No, 6 balls still an over to get 2 runs. Come on. Yeah, they've got 2 runs lead off the last over. That should be with 6 wickets in the tank. India, England, West Indies, New Zealand. These Haywoods will make the cut. I think there's a good chance. Quick Legends, you're right. Ponting was the coach for Delhi Capitals, all right. In the last few years, he hasn't won an IPL yet. Do you think it would matter in case he applies for it? No. No, he'd be welcomed, I'm sure. But he could well win it this year with Delhi Capitals. They've got the side this year. Oh, still 2 runs. There's 1 run to draw. The 2 runs, they're going to win. South Africa's just slipped to 9th, ranking up yesterday's last year. It's not good. 5th. Okay. Is that the game in Bangladesh? Is that where it stopped? Ponting was mentor for Australian cricket. Okay, it was. So was Steve Waugh. They both come in as mentors. So they've been in the mix. They're winning the IPL top as DCE. It certainly is. If they can't score 2 and 6, they should lead cricket. Bangladesh. You can't knock Bangladesh. They've smashed Australia and now they're smashing New Zealand. You can't knock them at the moment. At all. Done. Finished. Match over. Target 94. They've hit 96. I think they must have hit a 4 off the first ball. The first ball off the last over, they hit a 4, it looks like. And Bangladesh have won that match, and they have now won, or they're leading the series 3-1. And I'm thinking it's either the last one, there may be one more. 3-1, Bangladesh have won the series. Beating New Zealand and Australia at home. It's pretty impressive. I'll tell you what, pretty bloody impressive. Can't knock that, can we? And would be. So we lost auto qualify for 2023, yeah. National by 6 weeks. Yeah, exactly. I mean, Australia, New Zealand C teams. Irrelevant. They got beaten. I can't talk about this ABC team. You know what? Let me make this really clear. ABC teams is rubbish. It's a team representing a country. If you can't get the best players there, that's the country's problem. That team is still representing the country against another country. And if they lose, they've lost. Whether they're the A, B, C, or Z team, they've lost for their country. That's pretty bloody embarrassing. Do you think it's a cause for concern? Oh, God, you're a huge mental disintegration, if you ask me. In respect to the World Cup as well, that's true through my back. Look, when people say strike A side, B side, when Arjuna says a B side, mate, it's playing against your country. Beat whoever turns up. And that's all you can talk about. You can't talk about the opposition. So, it was only a B side, how insulting. Well, did you beat them? Barely. It does. Have you had a lunch? I've had a chance to try them out. Yes, I have. Been met to many functions at Lord's, been in the media room at Lord's. Brilliant food. Yeah, as well as Australia, we've had some great food at the Australian locations as well. New Zealand lost, as William not captain, half their team, but Paranjaya Sajiva, they're still playing for New Zealand in an international match against another country. If you lose, and it's insulting, embarrassing, not insulting, but embarrassing. Same with Australia, correct? How about we also discuss the World T20 squad tomorrow? We will. Yes, we certainly can. Why cricket is not getting popular in America and Europe? It is getting popular in America and Europe, so don't think it's not. They're the areas of the world which are actually saving us, because our traditional countries are the ones which are probably suffering the most. All right, guys, I'm going to leave it at that tonight. I think I've talked for long enough. I did by myself. So I'll either come back later on tonight with the post selection talk, or leave it tomorrow, either way. Do you think there must be a standard for pitch preparation in Bangladesh? Look, don't knock that. Bangladesh had to play on the same pitch as well as Australia and New Zealand. So that's an excuse. They all had to play on it. What about do you get as an SCG member? An SCG member, you get to get membership seats in the SCG. You get a lot of functions. You get a lot of clothing privileges. You get, you can bring friends and family in there. You can get first choice in the other sporting events or music events that happen. So that's what it is. And you get to go to the members area. Are you coming for a preview tomorrow? Yes. Well, it's a preview of the series, the whole test match, not the day. Yes. Well, this might be silly, but do all the players actually eat lunch during lunch break, or do they somewhere like? No, they do eat lunch. Lunch is a very important meal because they eat sausage when they're playing during a match. Australia make it to the semi-finals because of lack of big hitters in a world-class bowl. No. Yes, please be back after it's gone. We'll see. I will try and do that. If I do try to have a small live when they announce squad, I think I will do that. Okay. So wait for my live. I'll repost that. So Pawan Chiru, Bangladesh won the T20 series against Australia. A remarkable moment in the cricket history. It certainly has been, Pawan. Absolutely. Well done, Bangladesh. We must all applaud Bangladesh. If I have a cricket ground in India, eating guns, by no doubt. All right, that's it, guys. Unless you can suggest something more to me, I'm going. Okay? So we'll see each other after. So don't forget to view, like, and share the posts. If any of you people are there and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Hit the notification bell, the button, and share on WhatsApp your friends groups. Please do that. You're all here regular. Send them to your friends, to your Instagram, your Facebook Messenger, your LinkedIn, your WhatsApp, your email, your personal friends at parties and events. All right, we'll talk later, guys. All the best to you. All right, make sure you're just going to quickly look at one last thing. And we've had a pretty good session, guys. I'm pretty happy with it. Yeah, all right, that's enough, guys. We'll catch each other hopefully after the announcement. Do you want me to do that? Quick, yes or no? So funny how some New Zealand players are complaining pitches are when they make us play on grasslands. Yeah, that's true. It's absolutely true. Absolutely true. Okay. All right. I think I'm going to have enough here. All right, guys. Talk to you soon again. Oh, well, Bangladesh won the series. I certainly have. As Kim Peterson said, there will be only 4 test teams in 2026. What do you think about that? Yeah. I will be having a session. I'll have a live session about the announcements. Okay. We'll talk then. Bye.